So now we're going to move on to other ways that we can train this. These are going to be ways that you're more familiar with. So these are all the rows, all the pull downs, and every other type of variation you can think of. But calling back to part one, again, if you're not feeling the right muscles engage in the right areas, we're not going to be training sufficiently enough in a way that you can progressively overload that to get you up to a pull-up. So it's of vital importance that before you move on to all the training stuff, all the sexy stuff, you gotta get that foundation down, right? Like if I don't feel when I finish that rowing motion that my shoulder blades are going in and flush against my rib cage, then that's what I need to work on before I can start doing rows. So I can't stress that enough. But if you're good, let's move on to training. We'll start here with a rowing motion. Here I'm doing a seated cable row. As you can see, I'm fairly upright. As I finish, my elbows only go slightly behind my body. The other thing that you should note is that as my arms come forward, I'm getting protraction, or my ribs are moving forward a bit. And it's more easily seen when you look from behind. So one of the primary things with a row is that you want the shoulder blade to be moving freely. So if you've ever been cued to kind of lock it down before you even move, it's incorrect because you want it to move. Like in part one, get that posterior tilt. The inverted row is my favorite variation to give to people at the beginning because it's so easy to manipulate your body. So by being more upright, it's easier. If you want to make it harder, walk forward, just get more parallel to the floor underneath that anchor point, and you can keep going. Eventually, you want to work your way so that you can do it with your feet elevated and increase that range of motion. At this point, you likely can do an unassisted pull-up if you can do these pretty cleanly. My favorite thing about it is that you can manipulate this end position. So starting from here, I can go harder and try to hold that for that last rep. And that's kind of a nice way to overload a position that you can't get into. Doing a lat pull down should essentially mimic a pull-up, but it's not necessarily the same, but it's a good place to start. So when you finish, the thing that you can see from here and from the side angle next is that the bar comes to the top of my chest. If you're getting to this position, you are generally able to get your shoulder blades in that sort of retracted and posteriorly tilted position like I mentioned in video one. So as you can see, elbows aren't excessively back, not rocking too much, and more importantly, not leaning back. The pull-up is a skill, so you'll need reps. Set up a squat rack or a Smith machine and get under so that you can, when you're at a full hang, you're still in contact with the ground. As you pull yourself up, you're using your legs as minimally as possible. How much, I can't tell you, but the goal should always be in your mind. Use my upper body as much as I can. That's it. I've essentially outlined all the exercises you're going to be doing to achieve your first pull-up, or at least in some way, shape, or form. I've helped plenty of people achieve their first unassisted pull-up, and we do all of those things consistently over time, and that's how you're going to achieve your first pull-up. So with any rowing variation, you want to increase the weight. Of course, within reason, ensuring that we're still feeling that end position that we're looking for. With a lat pull down or any type of vertical pull down, we want to ensure that we're not cheating ourselves by rocking or using too much momentum, that we're not changing our position from vertical to being essentially horizontal. And again, looking for that finishing position where you're getting that posterior tilting and that retraction of the shoulder blades. The inverted row, again, I think is going to be your secret weapon. If there's any secret to doing a pull-up, I think the inverted row is kind of that, where you have to harness your own body weight, you have to be in control, and it allows you to play around with this position. So in case you didn't really understand what I was saying, one of my favorite things to do as someone's progressing through their pull-up journey is to get into that finishing position. Maybe they start getting tired by the end. That last rep, I always tell my clients, finish and then move forward so that you're in a more challenged position, right? So maybe I started here and I'm on my last rep, hold. Now I want you to walk forward and then you end up more reclined, right? So this would be a position that you wouldn't have been able to do all 8 or 10 reps that you were given, but you're able to hold it for just that one rep. Kind of think of it like doing an isometric at the top of a bar. It's pretty analogous. One of the last things I'm going to point out, which I'll go over in the next video in terms of programming and putting it all together, are things like negatives, things like a band assist pull-up. The reason that they're not in this imaginary program that I'm going to set up for everybody is that early on, for the majority of people who say, hey, I want to do a pull-up, but I don't have much experience in the gym, it's that your core is really going to be the limiting factor. So when you get on a bar, if you were to, let's say, just jump right into a band assist, you would likely end up like the video or clip that I showed where I'm kind of joking, where I'm doing a pull-up, but I'm swinging. That's really going to limit how much progress you can make in your pull-up. So by bringing that up first, it then helps set up a better foundation for you to then build that strength and do your pull-up. Earlier on, you're going to be doing things like that pull-up patterning, right? Where you're pulling, but you're not really sure how much your legs are kind of taken out of the equation. I can't tell you that. What I can say for most of the clients I've worked with is that I constantly am in their ear. Remember, use your arms, use your upper body. Try not to shift the weight to your legs. They're there to help you, right, to offset some of the weight, but it's also there to help you from leaning back or kind of changing that body position that you would get into. So again, kind of working a lot of the same principles. I'm pulling myself in a fairly vertical way. I'm finishing in the right position. I'm squeezing at the top. Down the road, if you even want, you can get to the top and then try to pick up your feet and do an isometric. Again, if you pick up your feet and you end up swinging, that tells you that that's still holding you back. So these are just some key performance indicators you can take as you move forward on your pull-up journey to kind of tell you like where I maybe need to spend a little bit more time and what's kind of okay for now. So the next section, we're going to talk about how to put it all together in a more cohesive type of program.